Have you ever recorded an hour and a half long podcast, and then when you go to drop it on your computer, it's not there? Well, everybody, that's what happened to us about 4 weeks ago. The podcast was so good.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
It was
we had an
fire.
amazing guest, and because it was so good, I had to reach back out to her, let her know what happened, and kindly ask if she would come back on. Apparently, she said she had a good enough time to come back on. So everybody, please welcome Avery Louise.
Hello.
Awesome.
A destination photographer based here in Memphis who goes all over the world and has run an amazing business. Avery, I'm so glad to have you back here for the second take.
I'm happy to be back.
Yes, it
Do
was
it
so
all
good
over
last
again.
time. You gave us so much information, and it's actually been around 4 weeks since that happened. And so I have like even more questions to ask you now that we can work into this podcast and maybe educate a few people, a few beginners who are who look up to you and your business, and maybe learn some things about destination photography, wedding photography.
You have lots of things that you do.
Yeah, you're an
Yeah,
entrepreneur.
lots of things.
You're an entrepreneur. You run a few other businesses.
In case somebody has stuck around now for a couple of minutes, I want them to immediately hear why should they stick around for the next hour and a half if it takes that
Yes.
long. To
We were here last time.
To unpack
We'll try
everything
and
that you do.
condense it this time a little bit better.
Yeah, we'll try
But
to
there's
condense
so
it.
much. There's so much to learn. Like
know.
you actually do a lot.
I
Why don't
do
you
a
start
lot
with
of
like
different
what all do you
things.
do?
Yeah, so my main job is I'm a destination wedding photographer. I travel all around the United States. I started my business intentionally with the goal of being a travel photographer. That's how I marketed it. That's how I shared it with others. That's what I talked about. That's kind of the direction that I very intentionally went. And then I quickly realized that building a business out of nothing was what my passion was. I love photography. I love creativity. That was really obvious to me. I'm not sure if it's what I'm going to do for the next 20 years, but what I do love doing is starting a business, building it up out of nothing, having a vision, being creative with it, and then seeing other people hop on board and creating an experience for people within, lots of different realms. So my other business, my second one, is a mobile bar here in Memphis, Tennessee. So my dad and I renovated a 1960s Shasta camper, and now we take it to weddings, parties, serve craft cocktails out of it. And then the third business is a photo studio here in Memphis that people can rent out on an hourly basis.
Yeah.
And then I also love educating people on how to start businesses, how to do photography, how to get into the destination realm. So I've got a lot going on.
Yeah. So
Thinking
basi-
about a merch line, lots
There you
of
go.
stuff.
To wrap that up, she was so good at her first business, she decided to do it again. And then after that one was so good, she said, let's do it again 2 more times. So if that's your reason to stay here today. And now she teaches other people how to do that. So that's one reason we're honored to have you here, is because one, you're teaching people how to be successful. You're generous with your knowledge. Just going back, that's exactly what we're here to do, and get to pick your brain and get to learn some things from you.
Yeah.
So tell me, you said you started with the intention of being a destination photographer. You knew that was your niche. A lot of people start and we're just happy to get our first wedding, even if it's 5 minutes
Totally.
down the road, type of deal. You came in and you were like, I want to be known as Avery Louise, the destination photographer. What was the route to do that? What was some starting points? What were the things that made that happen?
Yeah. So the first thing that I thought was, like, even if you go into a corporate job, they're going to say, like, oh, you need 2 years of experience to,
Yes.
to get this job. And you walk in and you're like, well, how the heck am I supposed to get 2 years of experience if you won't give me the job in the first place? So I was still in college. I started traveling a lot. I went overseas twice for school, and would just photograph as many people as I possibly could.
Yeah.
And I would post all about it. I'd be in Lithuania, I'd be in Germany, I would be in, the Netherlands, wherever I was constantly surrounded by beauty. So naturally I was like, oh, I want to photograph. And I knew at that point that I wanted to do couples. So I started photographing, like I said, as many as I could, and I would advertise it, and nobody necessarily knew that I wasn't getting paid for those shoots. They just saw me being a busy photographer. They were like, wow, she's, it's all the perception of she's in this place and she's photographing couples, and how is she doing this, and who are these people? And so when I came back, I had reached out to a few people who I knew in my circle or in my friend circles who had gotten engaged. And so one of them was in Atlanta, one of them was in Denver, California, Germany. So I got to go back to Germany, and I would say, hey, can I come shoot your wedding? just pay for my travel expenses. And I would love to invest and like learn how to do this. I want to shoot your wedding. I had obviously shot some couples in the meantime, so they saw, you know, generally what
They
my
trusted
work.
your brand enough to say, yeah, we want you to do our wedding.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I didn't like make a bunch of money off of those first few weddings. I didn't make any money really. I just
Right.
advertised the heck out of it, and I showed, hey, I'm being flown to Denver. I'm being flown to Atlanta. I'm being flown to Germany for an entire week for this wedding.
And now everybody's watching you.
Yeah.
And so these followers that you're racking up, because now that you're posting these couples that you took in, you know, the Netherlands and all these places, everybody on their pages are seeing your name, your name. So that 2 years of experience that you need to get a job is actually happening
Because I was investing my time.
They're investing they see that you're investing your time.
Yeah.
And now they're attributing your name, your brand to this travel destination luxury photographer.
I've never thought this thought before, but there's a difference between a destination photographer and a photographer that flies to a place to do pictures.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So
I'm
there's
trying to understand.
Like a destination wedding.
That's different. Yeah.
It
so a
is.
destination wedding it's a destination for the bride and groom.
Correct.
Yes.
And then there are destination photographers really who are just photographers worthy of flying you to a place.
Yeah.
A hometown of the couple.
But the couple lives there.
This has
Yeah.
actually been a super big point of conversation in my business very recently, because I started out as a traveling photographer, but would
There you
say it
go.
as a destination photographer. And now we are trying to shift the business in a way that's like, I genuinely want to just be a destination wedding photographer, where it is
There you
still a
go.
destination for the bride and groom.
Yep.
Right.
But the big thing was building a brand around the idea that you can hire somebody that's not local.
Yeah.
Like I
Yes.
needed to show people that they were allowed
Yeah.
to do that, because a bride and groom are coming into, you know, planning a wedding for the first time. They most
Yes.
likely usually have never done it before.
Hopefully.
And so, so it's usually, commonly, sometimes. So, you know, it's our job to direct them in the way of,
Right.
you know, this is how you do it. This is how booking a photographer works. This is how it goes, is whatever. So putting the idea into someone's mind that you can hire somebody that you love their work, even if they don't live in your city.
Yeah.
Because it just feels like it's not the first thing that you would think of. The first thing that you would think of is like, who do I know?
Yep.
Which is a big one. And like, you know, let's look local into Memphis or into, you know, Indiana or whatever,
That's
wherever
huge.
you are.
And it's a posture that actually I think is a good marketing posture.
Yeah.
It's a posture that says people value me enough to fly me places.
Yeah.
100%.
That's huge.
It shows trust.
Yeah.
It shows
Yeah.
trust to your brand and everything.
And not
but
everybody.
that's a traveling photographer.
Yeah.
In a technical sense.
Yes, but right. But you can say, you know, there's a lot of people who shoot a lot of local weddings and they say, I travel, willing to travel.
Right.
But it wasn't me just saying, hey, I'm willing to travel. It was like, no, I do like that is what I do. This
Right.
is my business. This is my brand. And intentionally reaching out to people who are in other states, who are across the country, who are across the ocean to book those weddings. To, you know, further that brand and to show people that what's possible.
I want to
kinda-
bookmark that. That's really
Yeah,
good about
go
how
ahead.
you're reaching out to those
Yeah.
people. I want to ask you one more question before we dive into that. Before we go back and Avery is starting her business and she wants to be the destination wedding photographer. You're doing these shoots. You're reaching out to friends. You're doing it for free. No one else really knows that. You're just delivering amazing images that look like someone probably paid thousands of dollars for.
The big question
And
is
now they do.
The one question is, did they pay for your travel? Did they fly you there?
Yeah, everybody-
It's always a yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
They don't ask what profit did you
No,
make?
I
Right.
actually paid to do their wedding and work, you know,
Yeah.
20 hours.
Yeah, actually.
Because it's vacation for me.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So going back, you're doing these shoots. If you can remember, this is for one of the people who are trying to get in right now, and they need some encouragement. And you know, how long does it take until the hard work pays off and people start inquiring? How long was it until after you're doing these shoots and then you're getting inquiries and people are noticing your product and it's worth their money to pay for it, and they're reaching out like, hey, would you do our couple session? Would you do this? Like, how immediate was that for you?
That's a good question. I have no idea, but
Got
I
you.
will say
Was it
that
within a year?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
shorter. I will say when I
Yeah.
started my business, I was still in college, where in a really small town where nobody had money. Like college students just didn't have money to
Right.
like book a photographer. But what I did do was I invested in relationships that paid off when it was their turn to get engaged. So, for example, I was in Lithuania for 4 months my senior year, and then I came back for a semester. And I knew that when I was in Lithuania, it was so beautiful that I had my camera out all the time. Well, when I came back to Indiana in the middle of the cornfields, which if I can start a business that's a destination wedding business in the middle of Indiana, in the middle of there was one stoplight in this
Smallville?
town.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. And I started a destination photography business in that town. Anybody can do it.
Preach it.
But what I told myself was, if I'm going to look busy, if I'm going to like look like I'm in demand, if I'm going to invest in relationships, if I'm going to like grow my Instagram, if I'm going to have content for my new website that I have to build, I have to keep shooting on a regular basis. So I told myself that I was going to shoot once a week. Like, even if it was 10 minutes, I had to find a couple to photograph once a week. So I put it out on social media, and I legitimately sent a text message to every single person who I knew who was in a relationship. And I said, hey, $15 photo shoot for 15 minutes. And I really, like, I'm trying to fill up a slot for every week. I told them what I was doing. I said, hey, I want to practice. I want to practice new poses. I want to practice new lighting situations. I want to go out in the rain. I want to go out in the sunset. I want to go to a rock quarry. I want to go to the cornfields.
I love that.
And I think
Wow.
like every week for the semester was booked except for maybe 2 weeks. And I would go out with somebody, and every time we would shoot for like half an hour, we would have so much fun. It was $15.
Yeah.
I would post about it on social media, and no one remembered that
So
it
they
was
covered your gas, and then
Yeah.
and then basically you're
whatever. Yeah.
you're getting all this experience. One, you're
Yeah.
growing your brand, and you're getting loads of portfolio.
Yes, and I would go on Pinterest and like look at poses and like figure out how I would instruct the pose, and then just be like, "Hey, so I have a new pose. I have no idea if this is going to work, but I'm going to try it out on you. Are you good with that?" And they're like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I'll do whatever you want me
Whatever.
to do."
It cost me $15.
Right. And
Yes.
then a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, 3 of those couples booked me for their wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they remembered our experience together and our photos together and how much fun we had and how much we laughed. And I just was somebody in their brain who was
Yeah.
a photographer, and they kept up with my work. And so it was an investment, a $15 investment for like a $3,000 wedding.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. I love that. I hope everybody's listening, whether you're thinking travel or destination or local,
Yeah.
even if you're like 10-year veteran or brand new, that practice is so huge.
Yeah.
Get your camera out, tell people,
Keep
hey,
shooting.
I need
Keep
some people
on,
to play
keep
with.
on. Have you ever been on a shoot and then all of a sudden you just froze and you can't remember any poses you had in your mind or any prompts that would make a cute picture? Well, I sure have, and that's why I'm so happy to have the Shoot the Veil posing catalog. It's all generated from members just like you who are submitting their own poses and prompts that help make that photo shoot and the wedding day go so much smoother. So if you haven't already checked it out, go to shoottheveil.com, make an account, and use the promo code PODCAST to receive your first month free to see if this is something that helps you. Now, back to the podcast.
Yeah. Well, and then it's a whole aspect. I had somebody ask me in a coaching session about editing, and they were like, I just can't like be consistent with this, and this. And I was like, I didn't feel confident in my editing until a year and a half ago, I would
Literally
say.
same. Literally
And I've been in business for like doing photography for 9 years. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to keep on. You have to shoot 10,000 times to
Yeah.
become an expert.
I just want to
Exactly.
officially apologize to all of the first 7 years of my wedding clients. I played with every effect that Lightroom had. I'm sorry for the oversaturation.
I'm sorry for
The sepia tone, like all this stuff,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. It takes
Oh.
time. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I just remember that year of life just being so helpful. And it's hard to like get into it, and to put yourself out there. But like the best thing that I ever did was be really vulnerable about how I wanted to learn, what I wanted to learn with
and
my
what
clients.
was the worst
Love
thing
it.
they could have said to you?
No, I don't have $15. Like,
Right. Right. No. And
Yeah.
and in turn, nobody really said that.
no one.
They said yes.
Yeah.
You made a connection with them that paid off in the future so much more. And they got photos, you got experience, you got portfolio. And through that, you set the foundation for an amazing brand that's known literally in every state now. And that's awesome.
And I would say it was much more about the relationship and the experience that we had together than like the actual photos that they got from that 15-minute session.
Exactly. I don't know where I saw it was on Instagram the other day, and it was talking about what it actually takes to be a good photographer. And it's like, guess what? All 200,000 of us photographers can take photos.
Right.
And not all of them are where everyone else is trying to get.
Right.
The reason why these people are up here and making, $100, $200, $300, $500,000 a year through their wedding business isn't because they can take photos. That's something we can all do. But where they really exceeded is where they handled their clients with respect and love and gave them a service and not just the product of photography. They had so many more things that, boosted that package. And it was their, that client experience.
Yeah. It's so important.
It is. So that was great. A great little, rabbit trail to go down. I want to go back to, you said you were reaching out to couples around, I want to learn more about that. What were you doing when you said you're reaching out to these couples and asking if you can, do this is your prices.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So when I was trying to book weddings, my very first wedding that I ever shot was a total rando. It was just something that was so lucky. I still to this day don't know how she found me. I had never shot a wedding before. I was like, maybe $1,500. Like,
right.
I will. She's like, yeah, great, sounds good. I went for the whole day. I was probably there for 11 hours or something like that. And I didn't. Somebody had recommended to me, don't bring a second shooter because you'll just learn more. Like you'll have to be in every decision. You'll have to be in every moment of the day. So you'll just like learn way more. So I did that. And from that wedding, this doesn't totally answer your question, but I'm getting to it. But at the wedding, because of the experience that we had, because of the way that I treated my clients, because of the ways that, I, helps them manage some sticky situations on the wedding day, they handed me a generous tip and they were like, we love you. This was amazing. Like you've done so good before they even saw a single photo.
Yeah.
So that just kind of speaks to what you were just talking about. And then from there, it had grown, like the bride was a hairstylist. So I ended up booking like 5 other hairstylists that were in the same salon because we would keep in contact.
Yeah.
But after that first wedding, the following weddings, I had actually saw on Facebook that a friend from kindergarten had gotten engaged. Like somebody that I knew, 20 years ago had gotten engaged. Or somebody on Instagram who I went to middle school with in Hawaii had gotten engaged. And so I, was intentionally building that brand around traveling. And I decided to type up a little Facebook Messenger message that said, hey, do you remember me? We played soccer in 7th grade together. Now I'm a wedding photographer. This is my website. This is my Instagram. I saw that you got engaged. Congratulations. How crazy that we haven't talked to each other in this amount of years. But I was wondering if you already had a wedding photographer. So if you don't have a wedding photographer, look at my stuff, see if you like it, see if it speaks to you. I would love to give you a deal because I really want to come shoot in Hawaii. I would love to come back. I would love to see you. I would love to put that into my portfolio. So she responded and was like, wow, this is so cool. Good to hear from you. Of course. Let's talk about it. Let's see what travel expenses are. And I was like, yeah, great. I will shoot it for free. If you just pay for my flight, pay for my hotel. And that booked. And then I did it again for another Hawaii girl who I had known as a kid. She booked me. I did the same thing for a Denver wedding. One of my best friend's sister had gotten engaged and she was getting married in Colorado in the mountains. I said, can I shoot her wedding for free? I'll just come stay with your family. I'll do whatever it takes to get there at a very small expense to your client or to your sister and to my client. And I'll come shoot it for free because I really want the experience. I want the portfolio. I was just so desperate to get content, to get experience, to practice. I was so intimidated. I was so scared, but I just jumped on it and told them exactly what I wanted.
Can I point out something though that a lot of people don't know? This is huge from a marketing perspective. I don't trust the salesperson unless I know what's in it for them. And that's true every time you buy anything, if somebody's trying to sell you something. So if you would have just said, I want to come to your wedding, I would love to come to your wedding, I'll give you a deal, period, they're evaluating lots of things. But when you say, what's in it for you? I want to build my my portfolio. I want to practice. I want to do some stuff on the beach. This would be so great for me.
Mm-hmm.
You're asking for something for yourself, but what it's doing in their mind is taking away all that doubt of why would you give me a deal?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they trust you.
Right.
So when you're upfront with your hopes, and when you're charging a lot, it's obvious, but if you're not charging a lot, be upfront with why you want to do it,
Right.
and people will trust you more.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just always tell people, like, put yourself in their shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if somebody came to you and they're like, hey, I'm trying to grow my business, I'm trying to get more experience, like, you are the ideal client for me, like, I loved connecting with you back then, I want to connect with you now, like, I'm trying to grow this thing that I have a big passion for. You wouldn't scoff at them, like, even if you said, like, no, sorry, I already have a photographer, like,
Right.
you would still be very proud of them, or like think highly of them for coming to you
Right.
and
Exactly.
asking you. So I'm always just telling people, like, put yourself in their shoes, ask for what you want, be really vulnerable and real.
Yeah.
And that's the only way in my books of how to
It's such an attractive quality. I mean, if someone's willing to
be vulnerable.
lower themselves to tell you what they want, I love those kinds of people.
Yeah.
I don't want to be,
You can
talked
tell.
up about how and mighty you are.
You can tell.
You
Right.
can tell. You can tell.
when
And so-
someone's trying to, like, not hide something, but like
Exactly.
mask something.
And you kind of
Exactly.
assume they are until you know they're not. That's true of humans.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then there's this quote that says, I'm trying to remember the phrasing of it. If you wouldn't do it for free, don't do it.
Yeah.
Dude.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
If you wouldn't, this goes to anyone out there, if you do your first wedding and you don't like it, you probably don't need to do it.
Yeah.
If you're not going to do it for free, it's not going to be sustainable for you. You loved it so much that you're willing to do it for free, and now it pays for your needs in life,
Yeah. I would say especially in a service business.
especially in the service business.
Because it's just all about people. Like, you are there
Exactly.
in the room in the most vulnerable moments of their life.
Literally,
on
yeah.
a wedding day.
Yeah.
Like, most people have thought about this day for so long. And so they are choosing someone to be in that room with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, if you don't love it.
I learned that I loved that more than taking pictures, honestly.
Yeah.
Along the way, the first probably half of my career, it was about learning how to take better pictures.
Yeah.
But then once I got like, okay, I can nail this, it's no longer exciting to like those deep parts of your soul.
Yeah.
And then you start realizing I actually love making sure they go from 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. and it was fun the whole way. Like, I love guiding 400 people through a
Yeah.
wedding day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like being in charge. I like solving problems. Like, that became more fun than taking the photo.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we've had such a great conversation. I want to direct us into another tip. What is something over the past year, maybe 2 years of growing your photography business that just you look back and you're like, that one thing was so essential for where I am now?
Yeah.
Do you have an idea of what that was? Anything that
Yeah. Yeah.
What is that?
It would totally be hiring assistants, hiring out help with editing, outsourcing to help grow the business. I would not have started business 2 and business 3 if it had not have been for hiring an assistant to help with business 1.
Wow. Okay. So everyone else just got really nervous because that's the side of business that everyone else is so scared to go to. And I can say that
I
because
was too.
I've been there.
Yeah.
It's hard to release the reins to someone else and give over that trust to someone when your baby is your business is your baby, right?
Yeah.
So you did that successfully, and now it opened up 3 other gateways for income and
Yeah,
business
growing.
Can I ask real
You-
quick?
you asked the question.
What were those big hurdles to overcome when you in choosing to hire someone, and then once you did the implementation of making them effective? What was the hardest part?
Of hiring or of giving up just all of it?
Let's start with hiring.
Yeah.
How did you choose the right person? What was harder?
Yeah. So again, and a huge theme in my business has been asking for what I want and just being open about what I need. So I just began talking about it. It goes back to becoming a professional photographer. I had to talk about the fact that I wanted to be a professional photographer and that I was, even when I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
And telling, peers, friends, family, this is what I am doing. This is who I am. This is my business. when it's a creative business like this, you really have to be verbal with it. And so similarly, I would go around asking like, hey, like I see that, another business owner friend of mine has an assistant. I was like, how did you do that? How did you find it? Relying on other people around me, I would ask questions. I would put it out on my social media a lot saying, hey, I'm looking for help in this area. I mean, I still do this. I'm still doing the same processes today that I did 3 years ago, 4 years ago when I shot my first wedding. I'm still asking for help. I'm still, going after and changing the business in ways that I like want to change it in terms of like destination photography, getting certain destinations, asking for those locations, whatnot. So it was a lot of asking and verbalizing, hey, this is what I need. I'm looking for help. I know that I'm overwhelmed. I don't necessarily know what I need help with 100%. I knew that there were things that I didn't love doing. There were things that came naturally to me. There were things that didn't come naturally to me. And so I just kind of took a risk and took a recommendation from a friend to hire somebody. And I think the biggest thing that people get caught up on is like, what if it doesn't work out? What if they don't fit? What if this or that? Well, you can change your mind. You can change your assistant. If it doesn't work out in a year or 6 months, you start with a trial period. And you're like, okay, let's see if it works out for us. Let's start small. Let's start with you just doing emails. Let's start with you just creating templates for me. And we'll go from there, or, whatever's on your to-do list that you can get them to look at and make little steps. Then once you start to feel the relief of the help, then you can begin to give them more work or pass off more, or realize how much can you grow with the help of somebody else.
Yeah. Did you know sort of roughly I have this much per week that I can afford?
Yes and no. I will say I'm not the best with finances. I'm not the best with money. I'm getting better, and it's an area in which and I like saying that because you don't have to be perfect at everything to be doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm still learning and getting better at projecting and managing and all of that. So I just kind of knew a standard. I've always paid around 15 to 20 an hour. And so I would be all right, 20 an hour. Let's start with 5 hours a week. I want you to manage. I'm not very organized. But
I love that. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
I just want to let everyone hear that. Sort of 5 hours a week. A lot of times you think of hiring someone, I've got to fill 35 plus hours.
I never have done that.
So you're saying you don't have to fill 35 plus hours.
Everybody is looking for something different, right? Everybody, somebody might be looking as a mom and she's just looking for a little extra cash, right? Or they have a full-time job, but they want a little bit of fun money. Or they love organization and they would love to work for a creative business. And I'm like, why would you want to do that? Because that sounds awful.
But there's people who actually love that.
Yeah. We talked about this once. Wasn't it? There are people that get excited when their to-do list grows.
Yes.
Their personalities, they
Couldn't
are
be
crazy. But I love them.
We need you.
We need you, sir. But they are excited to have more to do.
Yeah. And so in my mind, I feel guilty when I'm like, hey, there's this and this to do, and I hate doing this, but I'm going to pass it off to you.
Yeah.
And so it's been a really big process of having to realize my strengths are not their strengths are not my strengths. And so how can I allow each of us to coexist doing what we love to do and allow them to do what they love to do, which will in turn benefit me because they're things that I really don't want to do.
Exactly.
And so it's a lot of introspection. You really have to look at yourself and be honest with yourself about your strengths, your weaknesses.
Yeah.
And just start there. And just find somebody who has different strengths than you.
So don't go hire your friend who's also creative and kind of disorganized.
Usually not.
Yeah.
Usually not. And when I did hire them, I was very open and honest about how I work. I said I don't like to micromanage. I have a lot going on in my brain. And so if you have a question, try to Google it first. And then if you can't figure it out, then come to me. But I'm trying to look for a self-starter. I'm trying to look for somebody who can just come in, evaluate the business, see what needs to be done, see what might, we maybe could improve. And I want you to have your own opinion. I want you to have, your own ownership over your part in this business. And I want to grow it together.
So we're gonna dive back into the beginning of this. So you get this first assistant, and I'm gonna go off track really quick. There's two types of time. There's hourly time that you work 9 to 5 or you work 8 to 5, and then there's mental capacity time. Right. So if you have, I have 6 weddings on the editing list. I have 18 emails to get back to. That's clustering your brain and preventing you from actually getting to the things that you need to get done.
Totally.
And so now you've come in, you said you hired an assistant for 5 hours out of the week, starting with, okay? So they're making nearly $100. You're paying them $100 a week. But in doing that, you have now
started 2 more businesses.
You've had the mental capacity to manage your photography business better than ever and start another, just because you've taken off the 5 hours of nitty gritty work that we don't like to touch, and someone else can do it better. And
stuff that like paralyzes me personally.
Exactly.
Give us an example of that. I'm curious. What paralyzes you?
Sending welcome gifts, like packaging up the welcome gift that we give our clients and taking it to USPS and sending it.
Bro, that feels
Talk
monumental.
about client service. Talk about client service.
Yeah, that's first of all awesome. Yeah, but also I agree with you. Oh, that would cripple me.
So I gave her the box and I said, please just get it out within a week of we try and send it within a week of their booking, and I never had to look at it again. Now, right now we've been in transition of new assistants because things change, and I've had assistants move on to a different job, and I have had a new assistant, so I'm training a new assistant, and currently I have to do that right now because she's in California and I'm here, and so I have the box, and I'm like, it's sitting there on the floor. Or like just emails, like project management, making sure. I mean, if I have 20 projects in the queue, every one of them needs the first questionnaire, the second questionnaire, the contract, the invoice, everything from A to Z.
That takes up 3 hours of my day. I don't even know how.
Yeah.
Like every day, if I'm going back in, and I'm like, it's like, okay, I'm gonna start the day off, and I don't actually get into the things that, obviously, setting questionnaires, timelines, and all that stuff is very important.
Yeah.
But it's like I need to get to editing. This needs to get sent out. This needs to, and so those little nitty gritty things just cluster my brain.
I need to go to the grocery. I need to there's like personal things, and just if you want to grow, you just need help.
There you go.
So what does your assistant time look like now? Is it 5 or is it 20 or 30?
She's actually doing 15 right now, but then I also have hired somebody to help with marketing and social media.
Different skill set, different person.
Yeah, different person.
Because you might have been tempted to say, hey, assistant, why don't you also do this?
Yes. And I have done that in the past. I have had help with that. Or I have said, like, hey, can you like stretch across?
Yeah.
Actually, one of my assistants stretched across all 3 businesses.
Yeah.
Because of her, I could start the second business. And because of her, again, I could start the third business.
Yeah.
Because of the capacity that she gave me in my head space and time. And she was stretched across all 3. Well, now we've transitioned it to one assistant for each business to just give it a little bit of separation.
Because while you can't focus, you're paying for them to be able to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Which then allows me to focus on the stuff that I'm really strong at. The stuff, the editing, the stuff that like...
Play to your strengths.
Yeah.
Play to your strengths. Put your time there. Don't worry about the weaknesses because that's someone else's strength.
On a daily basis, I like have ideas. I'm the visionary. I've realized like... I have all these ideas and they don't all stick, but what I do is I just text them to her and I'm like, what about this? What about this? And so she writes it down. And then in our next weekly meeting, she comes to me and she's like, all right, so you said this one thing, like, let's talk about this. Let's see if it's whatever. Or I would get text messages from clients, DMs from clients, emails from clients, calls from like all different sorts of things. And so if a client texted me information about their engagement shoot, for example, I would screenshot it, send it to her because I didn't have the capacity in the moment to send a text right back.
Yep.
But I would need a reminder, so I'd send it to her. She would file it away. She would either respond on email or we would come back around to it on Monday and we would respond to it. We would get it handled.
Would she respond to them?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's different in each scenario.
But she could have.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that.
Or if it's just like, hey, just so you know, my dad's going to come for a first look. I'd be like, okay, great. Screenshot it, send it to her. She adds it to the timeline.
There you go.
Perfect.
Now, all that you're saying with that could be a virtual assistant that literally costs like $4 an hour.
Where's that $4 an hour assistant?
He does it. He does it.
Yeah, that's huge. Like I've been doing that for a couple of years.
Yeah. Wow.
So basically, you can find that online if you want. If you have a person you know personally, you can do that well. And I mean, there's multiple ways to grow that business. And there's multiple ways to go down.
So, but you figured out a few ways. You said something about editing though.
Yeah.
And not everybody's going to hire an assistant to run their wedding at this point in their career, or they're not running several businesses. But there's a lot of automations and a lot of little secrets you have to making the rest of your business efficient.
Totally.
Talk a little bit about that.
Totally. Yeah. So while I do have an assistant, we do utilize automations within HoneyBook. We have Monday.com, which is like a task management system.
Yep.
Love it. So there are automations. However, I still use my human assistant to manage and make sure everything's going
Not the
working.
alien one?
Yeah, right. Not the AI one, to make sure that things are still running smoothly. I do use several softwares to streamline my process. So I have always...
Tell me more about that. I want to hear,
Yeah.
like, you use HoneyBook, I hear.
I use HoneyBook.
That's perfect.
For editing, I use Imagen AI, and it is my favorite thing in the whole wide world. It's my best friend.
That's awesome.
I've been outsourcing editing for a few years, not fully. I haven't ever released full control of the creative process. And when you do, some people believe that outsourcing editing, is like cheating, or it makes you not the artist, or, whatever their reasoning might be.
Yes.
That has never resonated with me because regardless, it's this whole thing about Chat GPT. Everybody can use it to write an essay, but like however you use Chat GPT or however you use the system is going to be different for every single person regardless. And the product of my photography is never going to match somebody else's.
How does it change what your client gets if you edit it or the AI edits the same way? There's no change. They're getting the same thing, actually.
Yeah.
As long as you're going back in and making sure, which I'm sure you're proofing it after they do it. Mm-hmm. And maybe there's just the 100 golden images. Maybe you'll do yourself.
Right.
But there's no difference for that client. They're still getting what they paid for.
Yeah.
It really,
Well,
quite
and
frankly,
it
doesn't make a difference if you sat there and did it for 8 hours or for something else did it.
Oh, and it doesn't make, oh my gosh, I just lost what I was saying.
You're good. You're good.
It doesn't start with the editing. It starts way back from when they inquire.
Goes right back to the client service
process,
and what makes a photographer.
Yeah, well, the outcome of the photos starts all the way back from before you even do your first session with the client. And
Preach
so, your relationship with them, your posing, your directing, your, every factor, the lighting, the location, the way in which you set up the session, the way in which you handle a wedding day, where, everything comes into play with the creativity of how your photos turn out. And so I've always promised pretty quick delivery times. And so when it got really busy where I would have, a wedding every weekend, I was traveling every weekend. So travel days are very hard to edit on travel days. So I'm taking out work days in the meantime. So I began, using a couple different editing softwares, and I've landed on Imagen AI, where it creates a profile for you, and it actually takes all of your edits from thousands. I mean, I have like 25,000 photos in there that has created me a profile, and it,
It's taking different lighting situations, everything, and it's analyzing that. So it's taking the catalog, the Lightroom catalog, right? And so it's going back in and reading what you're doing to each photo to match that. To
and then it
what
applies
you're
it to
do with
all
the same.
future, future
So
projects
cool.
that you upload, and then you download it, and then you go through and make your own personal tweaks to it, and just make sure that every photo is exactly the way you want to.
I have a question about AI editing. Does it take really crappy images and make them great the way we can?
No.
Because I imagine it could take a decent shot image and make it how you edit it. But there are times when I'm looking through images and there's one that's like, it was poorly shot. Something broke in the taking of the picture, but I know I can save it.
Yeah.
And I make it interesting. Does it think that way?
Oh, I see what you're saying. I would say in terms of like if you wanted to put a creative spin on it, like cropping or Photoshop, like that's still on you to go in and make those choices.
It's
However, color-wise, it will match.
There you go.
Color-wise.
That's an important piece. We haven't brought that up yet.
Yeah.
I think that's actually a need for the photographer to step back in when you're proofing and when you're going through things.
Yeah.
Right. And that's still taking loads of time off of you.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to, a lot of photographers are doing 10-week turnarounds. And
It's so long.
It's so long.
Yeah.
I'm
There's
sorry
too
if
much
that's
technology.
You need to listen to this podcast if that's you.
Yeah.
It just
No offense. Going back, now your clients are having a 2 to 3 week turnaround.
Yeah.
They're getting that much faster. It's a better service.
Yeah, for me it's 3 to 5 typically. I'll try
3
to
to
do
5.
I'll try to do lower quicker than that if I can. But in my opinion, if that is your turnaround time, first of all, there's too much technology that could be helping you out, and second of all, you might just be overcommitted and undercharging. So like you are running around trying to, make money, but in reality, you're really burned out. You can't keep up with your editing. The digital world is just much faster than that these days.
Yeah.
It is. There's so many different ways to help in those areas. So do your due diligence and look those up and help yourself out.
Yeah.
There's
Rest at
really
night.
I've
there's
got a
only
code.
3 things we deliver. It's the experience, like how painful is it, and the time and the quality.
Yeah.
So is it painful to work with you? Do you return my text? Am I emotionally unstable dealing with you because you're bad at business? And then the time is the other piece. And with Amazon delivering same day, we expect stuff really fast.
Yeah.
The quality we can control, the experience we can control, and what we're talking about now is how do we make this faster?
Yeah.
And you can improve.
Well, and the faster you can deliver something, the higher you can charge. So if you're worried about I don't want to put the money into using an AI
You'll make it back.
editing thing.
back.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, you can just charge more.
Oh,
the
right.
speed
We can
of
do that?
delivering, the client, if you increase your client experience, if you send out
Yeah.
welcome gifts, increase your pricing. If
Yeah.
you do an extra phone call, if you give them anniversary gifts, if you send them, a card in the mail because of blah, 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 if you, are sending them a photo book,
Yeah.
If you don't mind sharing that, I really am interested in your client timeline process.
yeah.
So when I come and I reach out to Avery Louise Photography for my wedding, how does that happen? And you send me a gift? That's so awesome.
Yeah. What are all the
Well,
do you
yeah.
have a
So
schedule?
cool.
So a lot of the ways that I run my business is how would I want to be treated if I was the client.
Yeah.
And so to me, giving $1,000 deposit and just giving away the money and then not seeing any return for 8 months, 12 months, 16 months,
Yeah.
you're just paying for something in the future.
Yep.
Feels like you just burned the money.
It just isn't great.
Yeah.
So for me, the welcome gift is an immediate return on your investment.
Yeah.
So you spend, you do that deposit and quickly you get a gift that's all in. It's a magazine, a wedding day magazine. That's tips on everything you might need to know, want to know in turn. It should be a gift from a
That's
coordinator.
so awesome.
But if you think about it, then it helps me as the photographer show up and they're going to be prepared with their details for me.
Yeah.
So I can go do detail shots. They're going to be, making choices on florals and venues and their engagement session outfits, their engagement session location. They're going to make decisions based off of the magazine or information that I have provided them that will in turn help my business and my experience as their photographer as
Love
well.
that. Did you make that magazine?
It's like Insider Secret. Did you make that? Ooh,
Yeah,
that's
well,
awesome.
I mean, it has all of my information in my photos. It's definitely
Yeah.
a template that I bought
For sure.
from another photographer.
No, but
There's-
it's yours.
It's
When
yours.
they
Yeah.
receive it, it's
Yeah.
not like the wire.
no,
The
it's
Wire or
mine.
something like
Yeah.
that,
yeah, It has my name, my photos,
Yeah.
my words, my everything in it. It took
So
me
I
so
get your
long
magazine.
to make.
I
So
get your
good.
magazine.
Yeah,
I'm feeling the quality of this product that you just sent me.
Printed photos.
I'm like, okay, I just bought into a family of people that have, I'm a part of the Avery Louise family now.
Yeah.
And so I'm immediately rewarded. Alex Hormozy talks about, having something when they buy, you want to have
Yeah.
immediate
You've
reaction.
got 14 days to give them something that
Yeah.
gets them into that train of I'm part of this now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
Yeah.
So they get this. I'm even more excited. I get to look through and start planning and everything.
yeah.
Tell me some more things that you're doing. You have a timeline call or anything like that? How's that
Yeah.
work?
So we send questionnaires that will ask when's your ceremony? Do you want to do a first look? This and that. And then we create the timeline for them in terms of wedding photography, how it's going to go.
Yeah.
I just think that photography, this business is so digital that it's really fun to have stuff that's more,
Yeah.
physical, like the magazine. And then after the wedding, for their gallery delivery, we actually send them a bottle of champagne that they can pop open and drink their champagne while they look at their wedding gallery. Because otherwise, it's just
Yes.
an email.
Yeah.
And some people
The
do those
cherry on
little,
top.
yeah, some people do those little boxes that have the card in it and it has prints in it. That was under consideration. However, it just takes more time
Yeah.
Yeah.
to get that out. And so I
Because
just
the
want
emotional,
them,
you're going to get 80% there with just the champagne, and there's your gallery.
Yeah.
You're
yeah.
wanting just a wow. That's
Yeah.
and you could do that in 1,000 different ways.
Yeah.
How do you deliver the gallery? Is it like with the champagne? I'm like thinking
Yeah.
very practically.
Yeah, so they get the champagne. We order it within a week of their wedding day, and it says, "Hey, save this bottle of champagne
Yeah.
for when your gallery
So
comes."
it arrives at their house.
Yeah.
Like in a
Perfect.
box.
Yeah.
From you.
Yes.
Wine.com?
Wine.com.
There you
you
go.
go.
Wine.com.
Wine.com.
We need an affiliate link. For
Yeah,
wine.com.
I have some links for you guys.
We'll drop those. We'll drop
Yeah, we'll
those.
drop
Lots
those.
of links,
For sure.
Use her links, y'all. Reward her for the information she's giving you.
Okay, so
especially
wine.com.
Imagine AI.
Especially Imagine. Yeah.
It shows up at their house.
Yeah,
And it says,
like
hold this for the gallery delivery.
yes, and it says it'll be in your inbox shortly, like within 2 weeks or so.
Okay.
I don't know.
Perfect.
It like says something very specific.
So now when I'm looking at this bottle of champagne or wine, I'm getting even more excited.
Yeah.
It's sitting on my
Whoa,
counter. It's
you're
sitting in my
creating
fridge.
desire. You're creating anticipation.
So I
Yeah.
value the photos even more.
However, I will say, obviously there are some people who don't drink. There are people who don't like champagne. One of our questions in one of our early
ask.
on questionnaires says, like, what do you like to sip on? So one of our brides, who I just delivered her gallery last week, they like tea. They had tea at the wedding. They didn't have any alcohol at the
Okay,
wedding.
smart.
And so I thought about that, and I was like, okay, maybe they
Milos.
don't,
I'm just playing.
So,
There's a gallon of
a jug of Milos. No,
Classy.
we did something
That's
a little
classy.
better than that.
All right.
So my assistant was like, hey,
I'm sorry. I say some stupid crap.
do some Instacart.
Just
Instacart.
We got an Arizona tea here. Oh, that's good.
Come on, guys. We're fancier than
Oh
that.
my gosh.
Republic of Tea, thank you, is what it was called.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But my assistant caught it, and she was like, hey, these people don't like,
Yeah.
they didn't select that they liked alcohol at all. So we sent them a, little tea thing
Love it.
that she had found.
That's
so
so
cool.
good. When it's sitting on their counter, I love that you pointed this out. It's sitting on their counter. I would intentionally wait like a week.
Yeah.
So that they're seeing it for a full week.
Right.
And then on that Friday night or whatever, they get the email.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
So then they just get a big celebration email that says, pop the champagne, your gallery is here. All the instructions on how to view it, how to share it.
Yeah.
They get the link. And then,
The reward is paid off right
yeah.
then and there.
And we're
now they have
we're also implementing here soon anniversary presents.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was wanting
We're
to
gonna
do
work
something
on
like
that.
as well.
Yeah.
That's so good. Okay, we're gonna do a little rapid fire. What software do you use for your CRM? Which is
HoneyBook.
HoneyBook, great. Okay, what do you use to deliver your photos?
Pick time.
PicTime. Okay, you're not a Pixie Set gal. You like
I
the
used to
Pic-
be Pixie Set. Pick
Okay.
time's so much better.
Really? Okay, awesome. That's so
In my
cool.
opinion.
I love it. I'll have just as many friends on PicTime as I do Pixie Set.
And
They
Yeah.
can
It's really
print
great.
from there. They can buy prints from
Yes.
their drop shipping.
Yep. And then your AI.
Imagine AI.
Does that cull for you as well?
There is a new, they're beta testing some culling.
Okay. Gotcha.
I think I would personally, I've been throwing around the idea of having somebody do it, but I would want it to be,
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would want it to be a human.
I have someone do it for me just because it's like my
gonna get
wife.
their
My
contact.
wife does it for me because she's helping out
Oh.
the business, and so when I do a photo shoot,
Yeah.
because it's easier for a human to read emotion than it is AI.
Right, that's what I was
Because
gonna say.
there's gonna be slight differences between smiles and everything than what an AI
Yeah.
cannot read. So having not a person cull for
Right.
you is going to be
a human.
I would say this too.
Not
This
an
is like
alien.
one of those weird science things, but in general, not stereotyping, but women do better with calling
Yeah.
than men. Did you know that?
I would agree.
Oh, I 100% believe that.
I would
I
agree with
believe it.
that.
I would have to agree.
I had one experience where a guy called for me, and it was actually a very terrible experience.
After Berkeley, my wife called, and I was like, she said, "How'd I do?" I was like, "You did really good."
Yeah.
And this is your first. Are you kidding? Like,
Yeah.
Well, scientifically, women notice like 200 pieces of a face, where men notice like 20.
So
like, that's
guys,
literally-
get a woman to
Yeah.
pull your
Woman.
photos.
There you go.
Yeah.
It honestly makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
more emotional versus
Yeah.
They're wired different. Like their brains are faster than ours. I don't with facial expression. They can tell how you feel in an instant.
I know.
We're sort of oblivious. But when I'm clicking through faces, like there's 20 shots of this bride. My wife, if she just walks through the room, will say that one.
Yeah.
done. And
Yeah.
she's right.
Also,
And
because we think about like how would they feel in the photo?
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot
Yeah.
going on. Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's good. So
I call
calling-
in photo mechanic.
Okay. Photo mechanic. Got you. That's a good one. That's a good one. There's a ton to choose from.
Yeah,
Bridge.
it's
That's
true.
good. That's really cool. Any other cool software that you implement to your business that saves time for you?
Monday.com.
Monday.com. Task manager.
Task management. Honeybook can do similar, but just with the expansion of the businesses, Monday has helped a lot.
Yep.
Are you marketing through Pixie or through
Big time.
Honeybook or any of these? Are you marketing to new clients or inquiries, or how do you do email marketing?
Email marketing is
Flowdesk is
Flowdesk.
email marketing. We're growing that right now.
Okay.
That's a new venture because I'm actually currently building a website for my coaching
yeah.
side of the business. And so
That's going to require more email marketing to say brides.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, email marketing to business owners.
Yeah.
To
That's
not brides. Yeah. All of my, every wedding has come from Instagram and word of mouth.
Yeah. That's great. So
Everybody.
let's start wrapping this up. We're going to go into, I'm going to ask you about marketing now.
Yeah.
To someone starting out or someone, hobbyist or someone who's kind of, dabbling. What's the best way for them to market their business in 2023 in this, this era? What's the best way to do that? Are you using you use Instagram a lot. You're very present. Is it Instagram? What are those ways that we can do that?
I would say look busy on Instagram and TikTok probably. We're, getting into TikTok, but I've just been ever present on Instagram for years and years and years. But showing up consistently and vulnerably.
That's the right way. Yeah.
Vulnerably.
I don't know how to spell that.
Vulnerable.
on Instagram and like those $15 shoots that I was doing, like that was so important for being busy and having new content on a consistent basis for social media. And just working your butt off to get better and better and to get your edits more consistent and, to figure out what speaks to you in terms of creativity and in terms of the work that you want to produce.
Exactly.
I heard you say be busy, look busy.
Yeah.
There's definitely a choice that we make. Do we show just an amazing, inspiring photo a few times a week, or do we show, and there's a ratio, I'm sure, but have you thought through the ratio of inspiring, beautiful, like blow their mind photos versus, hey, I'm here doing this, hey, I'm here doing this, hey, I'm doing this?
Yeah, like behind the scenes.
Yeah. Personal. Like, this
Because
is
one's
me.
vulnerable, one's like, I'm an amazing photographer, look at my photo.
Right.
Do you have a ratio that it's kind of in your head of how you do that?
The first thing I think of is like 50-50.
Yeah.
I always tell, and like a huge part of it is we're talking about this personal connection with people. Every coaching client that I've ever had, like one of my first things I say to them is, if you don't have a photo of yourself within the first 9 photos first 9 on your Instagram, like, sorry, but you're
Trust
doing
is
it wrong.
lost.
Sorry.
Okay.
Like,
Good.
you need to have photos of yourself out there because you're the one who's in that bridal suite. You're the one who is walking through this season of life with this person.
Yeah.
And if you are selling a brand of yourself, like obviously you want to show off your photos. You want everybody wants to see behind the scenes, like all the time. I show behind the scenes in almost every single post.
Yeah.
I'll do like behind the scenes with the result of the photo.
Cool.
Very, very often.
Yeah.
Because it gives people an eye into actually what the process is like versus if you have a really pretty photo, they don't know that you were in that room 5 minutes before that and like everything was crappy and you're like, you're telling people to ugly laugh in the photo and like that's how you got the result of it. It's like, no, like for me in my business, I want it to be so authentic. I want it to be genuine emotion. I want to lead you through and not like, I mean, this is a whole nother conversation, but keeping the emotion of the day authentic
Legit.
versus it being just for photos. Like your wedding day is not just for photos. Your
Love
wedding
that.
day is for the two of you. But there are people out there who kind of turn it into it being just for photos or just for videos or just, so
So exhausting.
it's so important to show the
Yeah.
behind the scenes. It's so important to show your process. So at least 50-50, I would say.
That's great. I've also noticed going off that, like, okay, I hate posting myself, but I'm going to do it. But when I do it, all my other posts go up.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, I'm going to post, here I am doing this. And immediately, because everyone knows me through the wedding, it's like, oh, it's Sam. And so everyone, there's tons of photographers posting, their work, but it's Sam, that's the photographer. And those always do better. And they propel my following posts.
Because it's
Don't know what
uncomfortable. People
It's-
are
yeah.
uncomfortable in front of the camera typically.
Yeah.
So it's like, of course, like if you're uncomfortable, I just want to show you that it's just me.
Yeah, exactly.
Behind the camera.
Exactly.
I'll be sillier than you are behind the camera.
That
Yeah.
is so good. That is so good.
It's a lot. But just like vulnerability. That's just like that's the biggest thing in business.
Yeah.
That
I think
is-
Instagram actually rewards that.
Yeah.
Oh, it does.
We've noticed, like, when there are very polished videos that we put out for a corporate client or something versus a phone video that just it was like random.
Yeah.
It will reach 30,000 when the polished one reached 300.
Yeah. And that's so wild.
Yes.
I think it's true. So, like, if we're posting wedding pictures, Instagram's like, yeah, you're one of a billion. But when you post
Yeah.
something that Instagram knows, the algorithm knows it's you doing a selfie or it's like active and there's people talking and
Yep.
it feels raw. Instagram algorithm's going to push that.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think about.
Yeah. I just have I've had a couple conversations with people recently about second shooters, and I tell them like, oh, I only hire a second shooter for 3 to 5 hours on a wedding day. And they're like, wait, what? You don't hire him for 8 to 10 hours, like the whole day? And I'm like, no, I don't. I mean, it would be nice to have some help the whole day, to have, some assistance, but
It cuts into your costs.
it does. And
Yeah.
sometimes I just need them for the ceremony, or I just need them for a short amount of time.
Interesting.
However long you have them, I give them my phone, and 80% of the time they're just taking videos on their phone. They're not even touching their camera. I say,
Wow.
don't overshoot.
Yeah.
Here's what I want you to shoot. I want you to shoot this thing, and this thing. The rest of the time, photograph me and film me on my phone.
Wow.
The whole time. And
Yeah.
my Instagram is all behind the scenes footage.
That's great.
crazy.
I know, and I love that because when I see you on your Instagram, I'm like, oh, it's Avery.
But you
Right.
don't think about who's filming it. It's my
Well,
second
no,
shooter.
I don't think about that. I mean,
Dang.
because I'm a photographer, I know it's your second shooter.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's still cool. It's like, oh, there she is. She's out on the job.
Yeah.
But what
doing
I'm
the thing.
hearing, like if I did hire a full-on second shooter,
Yeah.
I would still pay another $150, according to what I just heard you say, to have someone come and film the behind-the-scenes stuff. So I just need you for 4 hours. Just come
Yeah.
for all the fun, crazy, in the beginning stuff.
Yeah.
And film me with my phone.
And then-
That's your only job.
Yeah.
Literally.
And they're
And
like,
that's worth
marketing.
$150.
It's marketing.
yes.
That's
yes.
so easy.
I have content for days.
Yes.
Huge.
Yeah.
So I love just recapping everything we've talked about. I love how we talked about how perception really goes into what is reality for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, one of your marketing techniques was look busy. And now you are.
Be busy.
Because
Yeah.
be busy, look busy, be busy, and you will be busy. So that's a great way to start, is just start showing people who you are, your brand. And, it's always, I always talk when we're coaching people too, we always tell them, stop introducing yourself as, hey, I'm wanting to be a wedding photographer. Shake their hand and tell them you are a wedding photographer. Because now they're attributing your name to a wedding photography brand. There's so many great things that we've got to learn from you today. Thank you again
Yeah,
for
that was a
coming
lot.
out here and
Take 2.
take 2, even better. Oh, it was amazing.
We actually cut it off at the right time this
Yeah,
time.
It's 59 minutes.
59 minutes. That's just the perfect
yeah.
hour-long podcast.
Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely.
Take 3. Do we
We're
do it
gonna have
again?
you
Let's
back
do it
again.
again. We'll do the
We'll
the
make up
second
another
hour.
reason.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Guys, I appreciate you guys tuning in to listen to this podcast. If you're not already following Avery, go ahead and do that on Instagram. We'll post the link in the description of this podcast. And for next time, we'd love to hear some ideas of people you'd like to see on this podcast. So go ahead and post in the community about that. And until next time, keep shooting, keep growing your business, and we'll talk with you guys later.